at the Sunol Ag Park right now. It's an 18-acre farm, essentially. That's land that's sort of been protected for sustainable agriculture and education. It's been set aside by that. And when I was a farmer's market manager back in 2013, me and my wife were looking for land, and we were searching through FarmLink and trying to find an area to farm. We're both from Oakland, and we didn't want to move terribly far away. And then I got a call from a farmer who was farming here at the time, wanted to speak to someone that ran a farmer's market. And so I saw his local 925 number, and I was like, hey man, where are you farming at? Like, where are you coming from? So he told me about this place, and there was an acre happened to be opening up for that next year in 2014. So we filled out the paperwork, and that was like December 2013. And by March 2014, we had signed an acre, a lease for an acre out here. And that was our start in 2014 in the spring. And now we're on 2.5 acres and 6 years later. It's a pretty amazing place to be having grown up in Alameda County to then also be farming in Alameda County feels pretty special to me. And I really appreciate that there's this great land here that we can actually farm on. This is my 6th year here at the Ag Park. And we switched up our model a couple different times. We do a diverse array like vegetable crops, and we've been starting to grow into the winter a little bit more. And we've done everything from farmers markets to CSA and restaurants. Haven't really done that much wholesale. This year we're doing CSA and farm box pickups, essentially running a farm stand online that people can come pick up. Some of my early mentors, Lily and Matt out of Shooting Star, CSA in Fairfield, they always cover cropped in the wintertime. Other mentor, Jim Leap, has always cover cropped. And so that was introduced to me through them. And just learning about the benefits made it a no-brainer. And so we cover crop in the wintertime. And we've been experimenting with doing some summer cover crops, mainly with buckwheat, just trying to get like a quick cover crop in before we get another crop in. I like the fact that it helps against like runoff. If you get a lot of rains, the roots just absorb it down in the soil. I like in the spring when you mow it in, you're building your organic matter. If you got in the wintertime when it's windy, you're not losing topsoil because all the roots of your cover crop are going to hold that together. So it makes a lot of sense to me. Plus it's really pretty. And in the seasons past, it kind of was a symbol for us that we could rest, because once the cover crop was in, we weren't really farming actively anymore. This year we're saving an acre and a half to actually produce through the winter on, but the other section will be cover cropped. So I've done it about 4 or 5 years now, a winter cover crop. Mainly we've used the same mix out of LaBallesters. It's a organic mix of mainly legumes and cereals with like rye and oats, peas, beans, and vetch. And that seems to have worked well. This year I'm experimenting without having the cereals in there, because they grow really aggressively and they're big and they're great for organic matter. But I have found that they are a little harder to mow down and kind of get going for planting. They leave a lot of organic matter. So I'm trying a legume only mix in one section. We're going to see how that compares. Seasonally, we like to get it in before the rains. You usually don't want to have to irrigate your winter cover crop. So we're supposed to rain tomorrow, so we're getting it in today, so that'll get rained on. Yeah, so today we had 2 different types of cover crops, and fields has already been mowed. And what we're doing is we're getting our spring tooth harrow out there, and we're sort of just lightly impacting the soil a little bit and scratching the surface a little bit, not going crazy deep, but just breaking up some of the compaction so that the seed can get in there. So after we sprung tooth everything, then we went ahead and spread with a broadcaster. We spread our cover crop seed. We use 100 pounds on the one section and then 50 pounds on the other section, 2 different types of cover crops. And then after we spread that, now we're going around with the ring roller right now, which is going to help break up any of the clods, and it's going to kind of compact the seed right into the soil, which is exactly what you want to do, so it's not laying on top of the soil as much, and then birds can get it, and it's more susceptible and may not take. And so that's all. That's it. It's a pretty simple process, and you just want to get that in before rain, which hopefully we get some rain this weekend.
I noticed some blackbirds over there. Is that much of an issue, or do usually the rolling will cover it up enough?
Well, every farm has its issues with critters, and we have a lot of birds out here. It's a really amazing area. There's a creek right over here, so we have tons of bird life. They do damage to crops all the time. They might have just been, anytime you sort of get into the soil a little bit, turn it over, birds start coming and they start looking for worms and bugs and any little seeds. And so they might have been going for the cover crop seed, and they might have been going from the bugs that we turned up. So I'm not exactly sure what they're going for, but it does feel better to sort of get the ring roller on there and cover some of that up. We mow in the spring. It depends. It really depends on the weather. There's been years where it's been mid-April because we've had late rains and we're locked out. You can't get the tractor in there to mow down. And so you're just kind of waiting until it's dry enough to get in there to mow, and then start incorporating that into the soil, and then you start making your bed so you can start getting the first crops in. So typically we've just mowed it all down at once. And then from there you start incorporating. And then this year and last year I mowed most of it down, but I kept one section where I just experimented with of mowing it, like putting the mower high and topping it and letting it come back and topping it. And that way it can continue to grow, have its roots. And I was continuing to sort of, in my mind, add, that cover crop back into the soil. So I'm kind of building more organic matter. I don't know what I'll do this spring. It'll probably be in March and April. I'm a little more confident of getting there a little early. If I see a window, then I might just go for it. It just depends on how quick I feel like I might need this to get things going. Cereals grow really aggressively, and they're great. They have a complex root system, and the legumes help climb up them. They grow tall, and you can really build your organic matter that way. Our hold up with that has just been like, we only have a tractor that's like a 40 horsepower, and it's harder to mow it all down. It just takes longer. I mean, it's a pretty easy problem to solve. I think I'll just mow it a couple different times, and so I can continue to mow it all the way down. And so then when it comes time to tilling or incorporating it in, you have less of the residue actively left behind. And another way I'm going to try to go around that is mowing a little earlier. If I mow a little earlier and till it in a little faster, then it's going to digest a little bit sooner. What we've done in the past is it just seems like once we have that window with weather to mow, then we're mowing and tilling and making beds as fast as possible and planting as fast as possible. It's just boom, boom, boom. And so the soil hasn't had time to really digest that yet. So the more residue you have left behind, the more is going to be in there, kind of maybe blocking some of the root systems and the nutrient intake for the plants that we're actually planting in. So if I can get in a little earlier, start the process earlier, and be more disciplined and mow more, it just means doing it all again, mowing twice, then that'll save me and help me in the long run. So we've just planted right into residue before. We've just done that and seen what happened. And so this year I'm trying to be a little more disciplined of our approach. Yeah, we do transplants and direct seeding. It just depends on what the crops are. I use an undercutter bar as well to get in there and just loosen things up a little bit. And I have a disc as well that I'll use, and that kind of just helps mound it up a little bit more. It's like a bedding disc. So those are the main tools. This last year I just tilled and undercut. I just tried to keep it simple. In years past I've used shovels and bedding discs and tillers and undercutters and rippers and stuff, and a number of different implement changes. And this year I'm just trying to keep it last year I tried to keep it a lot more simple. And I'll go with that approach this year too, because it worked. So less is more sometimes. It's a real benefit, and so I see myself doing that. It also helps with crop rotation. So I know that I can rotate and then have my cover crop in certain blocks. Okay, so last year we didn't cover crop in block 2. We're going to cover crop in block 2 this year, and then it just helps me with a better crop rotation. So we used to cover crop everything because that's just what the model was at the time. We just cover crop kind of means end of the season, and then we'll mow down in the spring and start making beds again. And then we found that we didn't have any vegetables for ourselves to eat. We weren't saving any bit, so we started to save a little bit and not cover crop everything. And now, as we've sort of built up a following and want to keep income coming in and keep farming, so we're leaving half of the area of our land to cover crop and half to actual farm on actively. And so then I envision next winter, the area that we are actively farming on through the winter, that will be cover cropped, and the area that got cover cropped this winter will be farming on. Yeah, so a couple different things. One, I want to bring up a line from Mike Madison, who farmers out in Yolo County, and he said it's kind of like a farming felony not to cover crop, just to leave land bare through the wintertime. And I'm still young in my farming career, but that rings true on a number of levels to me. So we try to cover crop just to not let it just sit there and you lose everything I spoke of before. So we'll always be cover cropping. I'd say go for it. Just try it. Have confidence that the seed's going to grow. Try measuring out a section and just trying it in a section as an experiment. It's not really expensive. I mean, it's like $25-30 for a 50-pound bag of seed. We do our ratios, like we do 100 pounds per acre. We used to do 200 pounds per acre, and now we're down to 100. I'm kind of doing an experiment to see if I'll go back up to 200 or leave it at 100, if that works. Reach out to people. I've definitely had stresses about cover crop, and once I just start reaching out to mentors or other farmers to see how they do it, I'm able to feel relieved and just move forward confidently. So I think just talking to people about it and then just giving it a go, it's not too hard to get in, and and you'll see some benefits for sure. I'm not so sure how much cover cropping actually provides lots of nitrogen for your soil. That's a thing that people will say, okay, well, you don't have to fertilize if you're using cover cropping. And I haven't found that to be true. I found if you're really farming to make a living out of it, the plants are going to need a little bit more than what the legumes are going to provide through a cover crop, I found. So you'd probably still want to fertilize as well. Yeah, so like you said, very little rain, so the cover crop only ended up being no more than 3 feet high at its tallest point as of now. We're mowing in a section of it, about half of it, about an acre right now, for some of my summer crops, some of my immediate summer crops that are going to go on the ground. So I was getting antsy to get that in and get that going. We're going to leave the remaining acre or so going for another month and see, just to have and just let it keep growing and see how big it gets, and also just to for all the benefits that the cover crop does for the soil. Yeah, overall, I mean, doing this 6 years now, this was not a memorable cover crop. I've had some that are 5 or 6 feet tall, this being about 2.5 feet on average. But it still did what it was supposed to do. It took down the rain. It kept the wind from preventing the blowing off the topsoil. It's going to provide organic matter. So it's still doing a good job. You can see how much rain we got or didn't get by the height of the cover crop. So we're going to make some beds, about 4,400 foot beds from this section that's being mowed down currently. And we're going to get in there. We're going to get our onions in there, and probably our summer squash and cucumbers will be the first things that go in. Depending on what we're going to do, we won't mow it all the way to the ground. We'll just top it a little bit and let it grow a little bit more. In this case, we are getting it all the way down to the ground because very shortly, probably next week, we'll start. Probably the next step will be tilling it in, or ripping it and then tilling. We'll have to see what the soil moisture is looking like. And after essentially ripping and then tilling, what we'll do is we'll have our approximate bed spacing, and then we'll spread compost. We have our compost pile already here, and then we'll probably spread a little gypsum for calcium, and then we'll spread some fertilizer for a little nitrogen boost, and then we'll mix all that in. We'll probably disc that in, and then undercut, and then we'll plant. So it's about 3 different implement changes, essentially a ripping, a tilling, and then a disking and an undercutting, so 4 to get that all in there. We have a 5-foot flail mower going right now, and then we have a 6-foot tiller, and I have a toolbar that has some shanks that go down, and the shanks will be the ripping it part. So potentially after this, we'll either run the shanks to break it up, or we'll run our spring tooth harrow to break it up. Either one, I'll decide once I see what the soil moisture is looking like. The spring tooth harrow is wider, it's 7 feet wide, and that would go faster than the shanks on the toolbar. So either one of those, and that'll sort of break it all up, break the compaction up after we've got it all mowed down. And then we'll till and get that in. And then from there, I might just run my tractor just over it, snaking back and forth with my tires, so that I can see what my bed space looks like. And then we'll see all our beds outlined. And what we'll do is then we'll come with compost, and we'll spread our compost down the middle of each row with gypsum and some fertilizer. Right? So then we've mowed, we've run the spring tooth harrow, and then we've tilled and we've ran our tractor tires, and now we're spreading all of our inputs. And then from there, I might put my small tiller and I might till all that in. And then I like to go back, and my final touch is I put an undercutter bar under there, and I just go under that. And that just kind of goes under that and loosens everything back up that's already mixed in, nice and ready. And we just get that nice, loose sort of great to then plant into that. And then we'll be good to go. And then we'll be planting. So those are the next steps. So I have an undercutter bar, a small tiller, a big tiller, spring tooth harrow, and that's all about that I use. It just depends on, like you said, the moisture in the soil. So if it's still got some moisture in there, and then it's not too dry to just till right now, then I can just go ahead and till if it's got enough moisture in there. If it's drier, the tiller is not going to really do as good of a job. I don't have a tractor with tons of horsepower, so I'll probably then need to use a spring tooth harrow or the toolbar with the shanks. And what that'll do is that'll kind of go into the soil 6 inches or so and kind of break that up and loosen it up. So then when the tiller comes in, it's already kind of loosened up a little bit, and then the tiller will be able to do its job better. And that's just a soil moisture thing. I mean, I felt like we only got like 6 storms or something like that. For a while I was keeping better track, and I knew we had about gotten 3 storms with about 1/3 to 1/2 of an inch each time, and then it disappeared for a while, and then we got another 1 or 2 storms. So I don't think we got more than like 6 storms, and we've had really nice weather. I mean, it's nice weather. We've had sunny, warm weather. And I've had to irrigate recently with the sprinklers and the drip, just because the new stuff we've been planting, the older stuff can hang, but the newer stuff needs water. So we've been having to irrigate in March, and we've had to do some irrigating in February as well. So I kind of have a sense for like if I have to turn the water on or not. And we've been having to turn the water on. So I don't have a great sense for exactly how many inches we've had out here. Hopefully my farmer self in the future will have a better gauge on that, but it's definitely been less rain. So we're just in the last week here of our winter CSA, our first ever winter CSA, which I thought was a really nice success. We're so spoiled what we can grow here in the Bay Area throughout the year. So we've had a great amount of crops for people. And so now we're going to be getting ready for our summer CSA. That'll go 13 weeks, and going to try to follow that along the actually when summer starts. So like late June 21st, that's when the CSA will start. We'll go 13 weeks, and we'll roll that into a 13-week fall CSA, and then we'll roll that into a winter CSA. And then we'll be right back here again, planting and getting ready for the next year's summer CSA. So we mix that in with a couple of restaurants as well. We've honed in on a couple of restaurants that really appreciate good quality local small farm stuff. And so we're working just with a couple of restaurants accounts and then with CSA. We're always looking to continue to diversify. Trying to expand like this for the winter CSA. We tried some new varieties of lettuces. We tried escarole, like different kinds of bitters, chicories and stuff. We hadn't done leeks before, so we're trying a lot of different stuff because with the CSA you want diversity, different types of spinach and stuff, lots of different lettuce heads. We try, so you get your purple cauliflower and your orange cauliflower, and so now for the summer we're going to be doing same thing, just different varieties of peppers. We're doing different sweet peppers. We got purple peppers and yellow peppers and red peppers and different kinds of hot peppers. We're going to do different varieties of tomatoes. Luckily here we have this guy named Fred Hempel who is a tomato breeder, and so we get to try a lot of his different inventions and creations. So we're going with a couple of his cherry tomatoes and slicers, and then some of our favorites as well. A couple different types of cucumbers, a couple different types of squashes, summer squashes that is. We're going with tons of onions. I think I ordered about like 50,000 onion seeds we got in, and that'll be like the first thing we'll be planting in a couple weeks from now will be onions. Going with 7 different onion varieties, 5 storage ones, and then 2 like fresh ones. Yeah, so it'll be a lot of stuff. I'm missing out on stuff. We'll probably do some corn and definitely doing some eggplants. I mean, we can grow a lot out here on small acreage. We just sort of are intensely planting. I'm trying to do less is more now. Essentially, a tilling pass and an undercutting pass is generally what I do, and then therefore the beds are pretty flat. I used to raise them up a lot more, but now I'm keeping them pretty flat with just sort of the spacing of my tires, my tire tracks being the difference in between bed to bed. And then we just fill that in. So for greens and stuff, that works really good. We've done a lot of like lettuces and arugulas and spinaches and stuff, and so I don't really need to have big raised beds, and that saves me time on the tractor. And then also working the soil less, which is overall a good thing, I think. So, but when it comes to a crop like tomatoes, and onions too, I still like to raise up the beds a little bit more. I just find with tomatoes that helps them out when there's more soil piled on the base of them. They grow more stable and seem to shoot down better roots.
Once again, Matthew Sylvester of Happy Acres Farm, thank you for hosting us again.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome.